You're listening to the Normal Isn't Necessary podcast, brought to you in part by the Gumballhead Sobriety Society and generous listeners just like you. For the latest updates, check out the link in our bio.
Hey there. Hey, everybody. It's Gumballhead with the latest edition of the Road Rants episode, whatever number we're on. Today is Monday, the 30th of March. Getting close to April 1st. I'll be doing a podcast with some people here coming Monday, and we're going to have some fun with that one. I hope everybody's doing well. We got some good bands lined up here coming up soon to do some interviews with. The weather has been very nice the last few days. It's 80 plus degrees today, and it would have been a good day to ride the motorcycle. I just didn't get out of the house in time. Although I wish I had. The wife did call me out on my driving today, though. She looked at the Life 360, and turns out that she can see how fast I drive sometimes. So I apologize profusely. Actually, I just said I was sorry. But I just want to kind of chat a little bit today about some of the premise of promise. I've recently had my coworkers take interest in my podcast, and I hope that when they do listen to these, they're entertained and they learn a little bit more about me. But overall, I want them to know how much. Oh, I dropped my phone. How much I love and care about my listeners and my support group and all the people that are involved in making this podcast. Not just making this podcast possible, but maintaining sobriety to an extent, as well as my mental health. It's really interesting to me on a persistent basis where in the past I've panicked about, the niceties of the people that I work with, and, it's like, hot air blowing on me. Yummy. But the niceties of people, when you make a mistake or you screw up or you do something wrong and you freak out at your job, and they're like, don't worry about it. You're still new, and it's weird still being the new guy and still doing stuff and still learning things on a persistent basis or a consistent basis, and kind of like, worrying myself about it to where it's like I should be better than this, but I'm not better than this, and just having people be on your team, it's weird. It's so weird, and my boss and other employees are just like, yeah, I get it. I'm so used to that other shoe dropping in my life that it's like, how long is this going to last? I mean, I'm extremely satisfied with my job, and I'm extremely satisfied with the company that I work with, and the involvement of all of the people at all the locations that look out for one another. I mean, this is an amazing group of people that take care of one another, but it's just so weird sometimes when you make a mistake. And when I say I make a mistake, it's an uploading document mistake, or it's not anything that's going to be life-changing or life-threatening to anybody inside our company. And I try very hard not to dwell on work. But, the idea behind Road Rants is to kind of decompress before I even get home, so that some of my mind can just be left in the dashboard, to be picked back up tomorrow, to go back to another day at work and just be like, yeah, that happened, but it's all good. It's okay. I don't have any issues with it. But it's crazy that I still carry baggage from my previous employers, where, you start out really good and you look like a rock star, and then all of a sudden you kind of peter out. But there's a lot of companies out there that, you come out of the gates running and you look really good, and then all of a sudden one day they decide, hey, you know what, you don't look so good anymore. And this company isn't that way. They're like, hey, you know what? You learned. You got it figured out. You got, you're figuring things out. You're doing things. You're learning new stuff. I learn something new. I learn a lot of new things every single day about my job and about the estimates that I write and the information that I provide to other people and other companies and to my coworkers and to my customers. It's a unique situation where I actually get an opportunity to do what I was hired to do and be able to talk to people and to learn and to grow and to experience things that I've never experienced before. And I'm not trying to make it sound like some remarkable happenstance. It's just a matter of like, man, there's so many companies that I've worked for in the past, whereas if you make a mistake, you're on the chopping block, and I'm glad that's not the case. So, I'm very happy to be where I'm at, and I'm very happy that the team that I work for is intact and it's growing, and there's a lot of growth that can be had, and every day we get stronger. We get stronger, we get wiser, we get better at what we do, and that's not just at our jobs, that's in everyday life. I've recently had some interactions, and one of the most recent interactions was I'd taken my newly 18-year-old son, recently turned 18, to a music store, and this is going to tie into some of my gaming stuff this weekend too. The music store that we went to, small, single dude operated, he's got a daughter, he's married and all that, but like, it's run by one guy and his brother helps out sometimes, but this guy runs a record shop, and he sells music, and he watches TV and listens to music all day long. He watches baseball, and, he gets to talk to people when they come in, and gets to choose his own hours. I mean, what better life could be lived than what this guy's got going on for him, The craziest thing is he's got albums that range from $5 all the way up to brand new ones, $50, $60, $70. If you guys are ever in the Covington, Kentucky area, look up Phil's Record Shop. My shout out to Phil there. He's taken really good care of me over the last few weeks, looking for some rarities and coming across to some of them, and just kind of a cool dude, But my son and I, we went in there. I bought him a record for his birthday. I purchased it on Thursday. I was really excited because I didn't think he had it. We had talked about it a little bit. Gave it to him for his birthday. Was super excited. He's like, I already have this one. Ordered it on pre-order. I'm like, damn. I was hoping that he did not have that album already. And he did, So, can't fight him on it. So we decided, hey, what we'll do is we'll go down there. We'll take a day and we'll go down to the record shop, and I'll let you pick out an album. The other one that I gave him the Gorillaz' new album called The Mountain. And I also gave him Santana. I don't know if he's listened to Santana yet or not, but he didn't listen to the Gorillaz album because he already had it. He had already listened to it once or twice or 20 times. So, but we get to the record store, and we are there for over an hour, and he kept apologizing to me. I'm sorry, I'm taking so long. And it kind of made me realize something. And I think I said something about this the other day. I may not have. But I've been listening to music for 40 plus years, whether I realize it or not. But, I remember listening to Club Nouveau on the radio, Cyndi Lauper, Jimmy Buffett, all kinds of stuff on the radio. And I remember those bands and those albums and the single cassette tapes that you could buy with just that one song. Stand By Me was I think it was the name of the song by Club Nouveau. When you need a friend. Yeah, it was, I think it was Stand By Me. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I just remember one of those songs growing up, and then we had the B-52s, Love Shack. I think on the other side was, another cool song. Iggy Pop was popular with the song Candy. Pearl Jam was coming into their time. But man, back then, even back then, record stores were sultry. They had a lot of music available, and you could spend hours looking through music at the music store. And but this music store is kind of like the one that I grew up with, and then it got inherited by all the local garage sales and went on this guy's record shelves. Fantastic selections, ranging from weird one-offs to the most popular music to everything. I mean, they have the Red Hot Chili Peppers record, they've got Deftones. I mean, they've got it all. It's got a little bit of everything there. If you can't find something to listen to while you're there, then you're at the wrong record store, I mean, or you have a really specific taste. But my son kept apologizing to me over and over and over again about taking so long in this record store. And it dawned on me after about an hour of looking through albums of stuff that I've listened to in the past. And he says to me, he's like, I don't like buying records that I haven't listened to yet. And I'm like, oh, well, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. But then again, how do you, I mean, that's where the singles came popular back in the day, is if there was one song that everybody liked, it was usually song 3 or 4 on a cassette tape or on a CD. And that was the one that got the radio play. A lot of times, those albums went to the wayside, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Under the Bridge is the 4th song on Blood Sugar Sex Magic, but Suck My Kiss was real popular on that album as well. And there were a couple other ones that made it like onto radio airplay, but they didn't make it as popular as Under the Bridge did. But it dawned on me while we were there, while he was looking through, when you're brand new to music, making a musical selection is even more important when you're new than it is when you've done it for a while. When you've done it for a while, you stumble across a band, and nowadays it's a lot more simple, okay? It's a lot more simple because we have Spotify, we've got iTunes, we've got, Amazon Audible, we've got Tidal, we've got YouTube. And by the way, if you guys are listening to this podcast, we are broadcast on each one of those, as well as all major streaming platforms. You can check us out, Normal Isn't Necessary Podcast, on all major streaming platforms. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I want to listen to this playlist today, so I'm going to hit this button, and I get bored with music sometimes, Sometimes, like today, I listened to Pink Floyd Pulse. I listened to the entire live Pulse album, and I have no regrets from it. It was a great venture for me today to kind of reach back into the throwback machine, 1994-95, when Pulse came out. While we, just thinking about the conversation that he and I had while we were at the record store. He kept apologizing. I'm sorry, I'm taking so long. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Don't sweat it. It's not a big deal. But it dawned on me that music selection is a substantiated challenge nowadays, because there's so many different types of music out there, so many different genres, and so many different bands. It's like the world is monopolized by the mental capacity of musicians, So it's just hard. I mean, it's hard real estate to do. I mean, you're investing a substantiated amount of money into something that you want to make sure is going to last you a long time. $50 for a record. How many months can you get Spotify for $50? Like 3-4 months? How many more albums can you get without buying records at a record store by purchasing this stuff through Spotify? But on the other side of things, I get it. I 100% get it.
It's a $5 million tonight. Relax. I see what you're doing, but it ain't happening.
Not exactly sure what happened there. We'll cut that out and edit it. Most of the time, people don't make it this far into the podcast anyways, but it sounds like TikTok decided it was going to take over my real estate. But musically, it's hard, but I get it. I used to have thousands and thousands of CDs and cassette tapes and records and 8-tracks and all kinds of things that, that I could listen to without too much issue. So when we listen to that stuff, it's tough because we want to share that music, we want to share that joy, we want to share that information with people, and if they're not into, Sly and the Family Stone, they're not going to enjoy and appreciate the music that you're listening to, unless it's like a gift and you're like, hey, these songs remind me of you, and then it becomes a sentimental thing. It has nothing to do with the fact that you really enjoy that music or that song or that group. Unless Metallica comes out with their newest album or Primus comes out with their newest album. But even then, Primus is a difficult band to appreciate and like. So is Metallica. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of any of their newer stuff. But some of their older stuff actually shaped my childhood. Metallica is part of my lifelong soundtrack, even though I don't own a single Metallica album aside from Symphony and Metallica S&M. I may have Masters of Puppets laying around somewhere. I don't know. But the reality of it is it's difficult to choose the best music when you have so many options, so many opportunities to be selective in the music that you choose. But we don't get that opportunity when it comes to anything else in this world aside from fast food. You got a lot of options in fast food. You got a lot of options now, a lot more options now because of the internet and DoorDash and Instacart. You always had those options before, but the internet made it easier. Music, same thing. The internet made it easier. Dating, the internet made it easier. I mean, there's just so many different things that the internet has done to make our lives easier. It's made us more lazy. It's made us a little more lenient on the choices that we make. I mean, if you want to figure something out, do you sit down and figure it out with, a calculator and a pencil and some paper? Or do you just Google the answer now? I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but it's what it's come to these days, And if I want to write a really good email, do I write the email or do I write the email and then run it through an AI generator? I mean, it just really depends on your level of you and what you choose to do. Now, I was talking about this the other night I was playing video games, and I had lost. We were playing Arc Raiders. I was playing with my son and a friend of mine. Actually, our Live Drive at 5-ish co-host, Together Light. And I lost a really good weapon on the game that we were playing. And I was mad. I was angry. I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. And I left and I went to Call of Duty and started playing Call of Duty with some random people. And I went on this tangent while I was playing because nobody was talking to me. And I just kind of went on this tangent. And I was talking about how, when you start losing on a video game, video game companies should be working together instead of against each other. I mean, I know that it's all about the bottom dollar and all about the value and all about the, all about the profit. But if you think about it, if you ran a algorithm or a simple program when you're getting frustrated with a video game and you're not doing very well because, you've got higher end players or they've got better equipment or whatever, they start smoking you out on the game. Like, most video games are dynamic, and they'll take your skill level and they'll put you in a lower skill level lobby or a higher skill level lobby just based on what you're doing. But video game companies should get on board with this concept, and I don't think this is ever going to go anywhere. But man, if this were to happen, there'd be so much more money out there to be had. I'm going to use the two video games, Arc Raiders and Call of Duty, as my what do you call that? As my ground zero, as my catalyst. I was losing on Arc Raiders. I was successful in some areas, but not successful in other areas. I mean, we had a really good run for a couple hours, and then we got destroyed, and I lost all my cool stuff. That was a result of being careless and being cocky and not paying attention. But I got frustrated and I left and I went to Call of Duty, and we ended up placing, top levels, not win the first round in, but these guys said that they had played for, a couple hours together, and I showed up and they thought they had a chance that they were going to win, because they got that far into the game, which is fantastic. But, what would be great is if video game companies were to see that and be like, all right, so they're stressing and they're freaking out about this game. They're shutting it off and they're going to go play something else. Well, what would be awesome if Call of Duty were to have received me as a frustrated player and made me more satisfied? Well, as soon as I log in, I've got, a couple of my daily challenges to complete, and I've got, my daily rewards, and you've got this, and you got that, and you got the other thing. But then you almost win a round, you're almost successful. And when you get done with that round, you see all the things that you won in your battle pass, or, all the rewards that you got for playing just that one round, and the longer you play, the more rewards you get, right? Then you go to the lobby, and then, depending on if you're running with a crew or not, you go back in, you play with another group of random people. And then you get a win, right? You're excited, you're happy. Now you become friends with the other 3 people that you're playing with, and you celebrate that victory by playing another round, and you might get another win. You might fall in on that hump, or you might just be, connecting with those guys on a positive note to where you do get a win, but you're a lot happier now than you were when you logged into that game. You were expecting frustration when you logged into that game, and once you win, it releases those pleasure centers in your brain to where you get excited about the fact that you just won, and then your night is better. Now you can go to bed, or you can play another round, or you can fall asleep while you're playing video games like I often do. But then, you just kind of, you zen out, and then you get out. And then the next time you log in, you got those expectations that are kind of there. And then you go back to Call of Duty because that was the last one you had success with. You lose a couple of rounds, and then you go back to Arc Raiders. Well, when you're playing poorly on Call of Duty and you go back to Arc Raiders and you start doing well, like finding rare blueprints and stuff like that, or leveling up your character or whatever, there's always these micro incentives that they give to you when you play these games. And when you start losing the opportunity to have fun with these games, is when it's time to turn it off. But if video game companies were to get on board and be able to recognize the algorithm by the stored information that you had just by going, from one game to the other, I think that if they were to incentivize that, or they were to capitalize on that by, drawing your attention. The whole idea behind a video game is to keep you encapsulated or locked in for hours on end, because the more you play, the more likely you're going to spend money on that game, or the next title that comes out. And one of the big things that I had come up with was the fact that, I'm not a huge fan of Call of Duty anymore, like the regular online gameplay. I'm not a fan of it anymore, I still play it, but I like the longer rounds of playing with people that you get to stick with, and mission-based type stuff, the old SOCOM stuff. You don't get that now with Call of Duty. It's like, there's so many different game modes that you can play, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be enjoying those game modes. A lot of people like zombies. Some people like search and destroy. Some people like this and that and the other thing. It just depends, right? But there's options out there for everybody that'll purchase that title. And if you're the type of person that uses all of the options that are there to extend your replay value, then fantastic. Next thing you know, a year has passed, and now you're buying the next iteration of the game, which is just a revamped version of the game that you just played, with updates over the course of time. But you're not going to remember the garbage from the first time around, before the updates happened and before the upgrades happened. by the time the next one comes out. You know, it's just you kind of you play to forget type stuff. So anyway, guys, that's enough for my road rant. Take your time when you are purchasing music. Take your time when you're out there making a major purchase, and just make sure that it's the right thing. It's the right one for you. And when it comes to playing video games, don't get mad enough to break your controllers or throwing them at your TV. I haven't done it in years, but I have done it in the past, and I learned my lesson. I don't get that frustrated anymore. Now it's just a video game to me. So stay tuned. More stuff coming up. Until our paths cross, stay strong, stay focused, stay sober. Much love. We'll see you guys soon.